I'm Amalie with Systematic Excellence Consulting, and today I am going to go over ClickUp Hierarchy. And so I did a video on views, and I forgot to go into the mind map view, so I thought I would cover it briefly during this video. So I created, I will admit that the ClickUp mind map view is not the best. You can do it based on tasks, or you can start with a blank slate, which is what I did, to show the hierarchy. So you have a workspace. That's the biggest, the highest of the hierarchy, the highest level. That might be your business. That might be, yeah, I think that's probably the best way to associate it. It would be the business. Maybe you have a different workspace for your personal things or something like that. And then below workspace is space. And those are going to look like potentially clients. It might look like departments. It might look like even larger projects. And I think when you're considering whether something should be a space or a folder or a list, it really depends on what the workflow is, or what's the process to completion, how many people are working on it together, and if there's different stages. If it has multiple stages with multiple people working on it, I would recommend making it a space. If it doesn't, then you would go to the next level down and create a folder. And then the next level down from that is a list, and then a task. And then within tasks, there are statuses. So not in a task, but in a list, there are statuses that you can set for tasks. And I'm going to show you a breakdown of a couple of different ways to break these things down in just a second. Within tasks, you can have checklists, you can have subtasks, you can have nested subtasks. So you can even have some subtasks that will have a subtask or a nested subtask. And then you can do assigned comments as well, which is fantastic if the task ultimately might not be assigned to that person, but maybe they are looking for help from someone else, or they need assistance from someone. You can put a comment in the task and assign it to someone else so that they get a notification to either provide something, or, if you're working with design and the copywriter's wondering where this one image is because they can't find it, and you can assign a comment to the designer, hey, put the link or, to the design that the copywriter is looking for, or the funnel builder or whatever. So that's it. That's an overview. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to show some of the breakdown. So everything, this is our full workspace in the list view. Now I did go over views in a different video. And so you'll want to watch that, but this is in the list view. I could look at it in the board view. I think it'd be I don't really like the board view in with everything, because I think it doesn't keep it together nice. Whereas the list view I think is okay, because you're getting the breakdown here where you can see that it says client project. So there's clients, and then within client projects you can see client project under clients, right? So when I click on everything, it's showing me all of those things. Now this is not showing all the empty statuses. It's just showing the first one, which is to do. If I want to see all of those, I just come over here, I just click over show empty statuses, and then I can hit save. If I don't like that it automatically puts complete at the top, which I don't, I just switch it down and make it reverse so I can see the first one there. So this is everything. This is the workspace. This is all of those things that are right here. You can see them here. Another way to look at it might be in the calendar view. There aren't any due dates assigned to them right now, so nothing's going to show up. Okay, so let's go to a space. So I have two ways of showing clients. So it really depends on what's going to work for your business. But this is a space, so client space. So if you select the space, it will show you all the folders and all the lists inside of the space. Now, again, this isn't showing those empty statuses because I don't have it marked. And each setting is set at each level. So I did it for everything, but when I clicked on the folder or the space, it wasn't set to show all the empty spaces. So I have to set it again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to also set it so it switches it to showing me the to-do status first. So these are the statuses here. Status to-do and complete. So now I can see everything. So this particular space only has one folder and it has 3 lists. And then it doesn't have any tasks right now, but these are the statuses, and you can see it says client project phase 1 strategy. And then so this is going to show all of them. If I want to click on the folder view, again, this folder, clicking on that shows me all 3 of these. What I am going to show you is down here, I'm going to click on client A. So maybe your client is going to have multiple projects. You have multiple departments working on with one client. And so maybe that means that they need to have their own space. So instead of having it here, like I did with the first example, that would have all the clients living in the same space. This one is showing if you had a client that had its own space and then different folders and lists. And so how I've broken this up is just to show an example of that. Like maybe you have an onboarding list that doesn't live in a folder, just lives in a list. So you can have lists that don't live in folders. So you could have a space that just has a bunch of lists versus having them organized into folders. It's just another way of organizing it. So I'm just showing as an example here, maybe you have your onboarding process in by itself, just a list. And then inside of here, I have 3 folders and a list. So if I click on this space, it's going to show me everything that's in here. It's going to show me the branding guide and template folder, the funnel build folder, the YouTube channel launch folder, and the onboarding list. And you're going to be able to see all the statuses. If these had tasks, you would see them there as well. So if you're scrolling down, you can see this is the funnel build project phase 3, right? So that's that list right there. And I keep going. This is the client task list, internal task list, and it just shows everything that's in there. And then, so from there, if I wanted to just see this one folder, I just want to see the branding guide and template. And maybe the branding guide, maybe it doesn't need its own folder, but I put it in a folder just to show that. So again, this is not set for me to be able to see the empty statuses, so I'm going to do that. And maybe you don't want to see all those things, and all you have to do is turn it off so you don't see them. I prefer to see them. And then the idea behind this is these are actually in a not active. Oh, to edit these statuses, you just click on the 3 dots, edit folder statuses. This is going to edit the statuses of the folder. So this is just set with what it comes with, but if I want to edit the list statuses, then I'd click here, and then it's going to show you those statuses that I created. So these are in a not started status, meaning I can put information instructions, things that aren't going to show up as not being done because they're just more informational than it is for something to have an action taken on it. Okay, so if I want all the lists that I create, so maybe I'm going to create a few more lists inside of here, then I would want to set the statuses. I'd want to set the folder statuses, but I'm not, so I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, so creating, so let's just go down one more level. We'll look at the list like I just mentioned. Again, this show empty statuses. You can show closed tasks, task location. We can turn all of those settings on, and then you just hit save. So it saves those. And again, we can reverse the, how it's grouped. And again, you can group it by, you have options to group it in different ways. I think that for me, it works best to have it grouped by status. But if you're trying to figure out, workload or something like that, it might make sense to group it by assignee or due date or something like that. Okay, so then we're going to go down. We've gone to the workspace, the space, the folder, the list, now the task. So I'm just going to create a new task here. And then this is showing the location because that's what I marked that I want to see the location of it. So if I click this open, this is the task. And then we have the subtasks. And then if I open the subtask, I can create an additional subtask. Okay, so then to get back, I can go right back here. This is going to show me, and then I can see that this has an additional nested subtask. I mentioned having checklists, so you can have the checklist item here. You can also make these templates as well. And you do that. Just click here, save as a template. You can assign the checklist items if you want. So maybe you have multiple people working on the same task. You can delegate the or assign the checklist items. Also assign the subtasks and the nested subtasks. Here, if you want to do the assign comments, that would be in here. Let's see. Oh, I don't have anyone added in this. This is just our test account, so I don't have anyone added in here, but you can assign comments here, and then they would get a notification for that. So you can assign the task, you can assign the subtasks, the nested subtasks, the checklist item, and then also you can also assign comments. And if you do assign comments, it's just going to show me which, that's fine. Right? It's just going to show that it, and then now it's assigned to me, so I'll get a notification about it. And when I'm done doing it, I click resolve, and then it's essentially marked done. Okay, so from our list here, we've gone over all of the items here. Now creating new things. So from if we want to create a new space, then we just click here. If we want to create a new folder or list inside of a space, we would just click this dot or this plus sign, and we can do a new list, new folder. We can import from here. We can go to the template center from there. If we want to create a new list inside of a folder, then we just click the plus sign, and again, we have those same options. And then inside of lists, we can create tasks either we can click right here. We can also click new task. One thing that I like to utilize is the list information. So what that's going to do, and we utilize this for quick links to things. So let's do the branding. That'll probably be a good, okay, so let's say this is the branding guide. I'm going to grab the link to the branding guidelines list, and then I'm going to go over to the phase 1 strategy for the funnel build project, and then I'm going to go to list information, and I'm going to put branding guidelines. And the branding guidelines might have the link to the Google folder. It might have images uploaded. It might have one task that has the the font that's being used. And it's just a quick way for people to find things and not have to leave ClickUp. Links to or embedded Google Docs that have the hex colors, the fonts, those kinds of things. So one way to use the list info is to, we can put the link to the branding guidelines right there. We can put comments here. We can set a due date for lists. We can even assign a list. So maybe a list becomes more of a task like type setup with tasks inside of it, but you can set due dates for lists and close it out. So that's just another level of being able to assign and those kinds of things. You can set the priority level. So anyway, so that is the list info. And then what will happen is this will be hyperlinked. If I click on it, it'll just open up to the brand guidelines that I had already set up. So let's see. Okay, and then just so you can see another way of doing this, I use the space as marketing. So that might be your marketing department, sales department, that kind of thing. And then inside of marketing, I showed a couple of ways to do, let's say, YouTube production. I made that a folder and then a list with the templates and assets, a topic list, production, and then published. Or another way to do that is content management is a folder, and then you have your production actually inside the list. So this would look like, and I can show you in the board view, that might make sense. If you're coming from Trello, this is going to look a lot like that, right? So you have your topic lists here. When you're ready to, or you start planning them, you'd put them in the to-do status. And then if you're starting to work on them, you'd put them in progress, ready for review, ready for publishing, and then complete. These are just templates that I've created before. And, if you have your subtasks, you can start to create your subtasks as you develop your process in here. Same thing for a podcast production. Maybe you have a template task that you work from. But just like I set up with the other one, with the blog one, I have topic list, the to-do in progress, ready for review, ready for publishing, and complete. And this would just be a list with the topics, and then when you're going to produce them, they'd go to production. This is just another way to break it out, and it really just depends on what works best for you. I think taking into consideration how many people you have working on it, how many steps there are in the process, all matter for how you're going to use the hierarchy within ClickUp. So again, my name is Amalie. I am with Systematic Excellence Consulting, and I hope that this video was helpful. If you are looking for one-on-one support, there's a link in the show notes that you can book a free call. We could have a discussion, figure out what the best way forward is, and make sure you subscribe to check out our future videos. Thank you so much for watching.